The palace is suggesting that Senator Amy Marcos invite more international law experts to the Senate's probe into President Rodrigo Duterte's arrest. In a briefing on Tuesday, April 8, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says it may be more helpful for the senator to consider various legal perspectives.
Mas maganda po talaga na hindi lamang po iisang view ang mga dinig ni Senator Amy Marcos. Mag-imbita po siya ng mga eksperto pa, yung mga na madalas na nai-interview, na nagbibigay din ng kakaibang opinyon, no? Kakaibang opinyon na makakaiba kay Attorney Alex Medina para po mas maliwanagan siya.
Castro points out that hearing from the same resource persons will not help balance the senator's understanding of the issue. However, Castro clarifies that it is merely a suggestion and not an order from the palace.
Ito naman ay suggestion lang. Total na itanong naman po. Hindi naman po tayo nag-uutos. Mas maganda po na makapagkuha pa siya o makapag-imbita pa siya ng iba pang mga international law experts para po mas maliwanagan siya.
The next Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing on Duterte's arrest is scheduled on April 10. At least 11 cabinet and government officials will be attending the probe. They were previously barred from participating, with Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin citing executive privilege and a sub judice rule. Former President Duterte was arrested in Manila on March 11. He was flown the same day to The Hague, Netherlands to stand trial for crimes against humanity allegedly committed during his administration's drug war. Another lawyer joins former President Rodrigo Duterte's defense team before the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Based on a document by the ICC dated April 7, Rodolfo Jacobs was named as Associate Counsel upon the request of Duterte's lead counsel, Nicholas Kaufman. The ICC says Jacobs' appointment was confirmed by the registry on April 3. The ICC adds that Jacobs had already signed the solemn undertakings required by Article 5 of the Code prior to his appointment. Based on his website, Jacobs has 15 years of experience in international law, international criminal law, and human rights. He also teaches in various universities and also provides training for counsel at the ICC. The ICC currently has custody of Duterte, who is charged with crimes against humanity for his administration's war on drugs. Duterte's anti-drug campaign left at least 6,000 people dead, with human rights groups reporting the toll could be as high as 20,000. Former President Rodrigo Duterte's youngest daughter, Kitty Duterte, files a motion urging the Supreme Court to schedule oral arguments on the consolidated petitions for a writ of habeas corpus for her father. Rodrigo Duterte is currently under the custody of the International Criminal Court. A writ of habeas corpus is an order issued by a court directed to persons detaining an individual and commands them to produce the physical body of a person whose liberty is restrained and explain sufficient cause of detention. In a 14-page petition, Kitty argues that the consolidated petitions for her father present exigent constitutional issues, including whether or not the former president's rights were violated. According to Kitty's motion, oral arguments will allow the Supreme Court to probe whether it has the authority to issue a writ of habeas corpus once a person is held outside the Philippine territory. The motion states that oral arguments will provide a platform for the High Court to address important legal and constitutional issues in the case. The consolidated petitions consist of separate petitions for habeas corpus filed by Kitty and her siblings, Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte and Davao City Representative Pulong Duterte. All three sought the return of their father through the writ, maintaining that the Philippines is no longer under the jurisdiction of the ICC. However, the Department of Justice, in a comment in response to the petitions, argued that a writ of habeas corpus may no longer be issued as it has become moot and devoid of merit by virtue of Duterte's transfer to the ICC detention facility. The palace also previously maintained that the ICC retains jurisdiction over the crimes committed while the Philippines was a member up until its withdrawal from the Rome Statute. The period covered by the ICC in the case against Duterte was from when he was still mayor of Davao until 2019. The Department of Transportation is already seeking ways to allow the unconsolidated drivers and operators to return to their routes, according to transport groups. According to Piston, Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon himself reportedly assured the group of the directive. This new direction comes after the deadline for the consolidation of public utility vehicles passed. Piston says that Dizon gave the guarantee as the transport group was holding a protest on Monday, April 7. Quoting Dizon, Piston says a mechanism will be in place before Holy Week is over. For his part, Manibela President Mar Valbuena says Dizon already informed them of the same directive as far back as March 31. He adds that their group is just waiting for the memorandum circular's release. Meanwhile, the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board says it has not received any directive yet on allowing unconsolidated jeepneys to ply the same routes again. Under the Public Transport Modernization Program, operators and drivers of PUVs must group themselves together to form cooperatives to avail the program's benefits. Consolidation is part of the process of phasing out traditional jeepneys that are not roadworthy and replacing them with eco-friendly but more expensive units. The Supreme Court is ordering congressional candidate Ian Sia to explain why he should not face disciplinary action after cracking sexual jokes on single mothers during a campaign sortie. According to Supreme Court spokesperson Camille Ting, the High Court issued a show-cause order against Sia after lawyers Allen Liberato Espino and Michelle Lacerna Adricola filed a complaint against him over his lewd remarks. Women's Alliance Gabriela likewise sent a letter to the Supreme Court urging them to investigate the incident. Sia will now have to explain his remarks to the High Court within 10 days from his receipt of notice. Sia is running for Pasig City Lone District Representative under the slate of mayoral bet Sara Diskaya. During a campaign rally, Sia encouraged single mothers in their monthly cycle to sleep with him when they're feeling lonely. Videos of Sia uttering those remarks went viral on social media, prompting him to apologize soon afterward. In their letter, Gabriela pointed out that Sia, as a member of the legal profession, is expected to observe ethical conduct under the High Court's Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability. Gabriela, in a separate interview, said women play a major role in the elections and should not be the subject of demeaning jokes. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.